Right, I think we can get started as people continue to file in. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Deandra Coleman. I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 27 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses and their local communities. Our one-on-one consulting services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, A Grand Reopening Celebration, A Guide to Success, is presented by the Virginia SBDC, and it will be repeated again on June 16th. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box. If we are unable to get to your question, you can email us after the webinar. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session. Mark brings 35 years of experience in helping retail, restaurant, and tourism-related small businesses refine and promote their concepts to the public. In 1975, Mark started his retail career as co-owner of the largest distributor of Earth shoes in the US. Since then, he has held executive positions with retailers such as Britches of Georgetown, Crown Books, Circuit City, The Bicycle Exchange, eCampus.com, and Store Tracks Inc. Mark joined the SBDC in 2019 as a retail industry consultant and has delivered over 70 seminars and assisted over 300 retailers throughout Virginia. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Mark Wilson.
Good morning, Virginia. I am so excited and delighted to be here today. We have good news finally to talk about. And let me update my bio for a minute. Actually, I joined the SBDC in 2009, not 2019. So I've been doing this for 12 years in the state of Virginia. And I've given well over 500 seminars and talked to over 1,000 small businesses. So just an update on my credentials. I was a retailer and restaurateur for 4 decades, starting in 1975 when I graduated from college. I went straight into a partnership with a couple guys in the earth shoe business and became the largest distributor of earth shoes in the United States, I guess in the world, back in 1978. So my roots go way back with retail, restaurants, and hospitality, and I've made about every mistake you can make. So I'm here to tell you this morning that if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking enough risks. And I think you all know, based on the need to pivot over the last a year and a half, that you're willing to make those risks and make mistakes. And that's why you're still here. And that's why we're excited. Today is the beginning of a celebration. I think the entire country should adapt and kick off. And that's a grand reopening. And I'm not suggesting that all businesses were broken over the last year and a half, but I think it's time to bring events back to small towns in America. We know that towns are event driven. We know that not normally do you have 20 or 30,000 people come to your town if it weren't for the events that you hold there. And most towns have signature events that they've created annually over the past decade, and people look forward to them, and we haven't done them. So I'm sure everybody's a little rusty in terms of doing events in their own stores and doing events in their towns. So I'm going to do a refresher course here with you on how to throw a good event. And when I talk about a good event, I mean an event that helps the local merchants do more business. So the event is not just to put the town on the map. The event is to bring people to the town to do more business. So it's for the local merchants. It's not for the chicken on the stick vendor that you invited. It's for your local merchants to do better with the influx of thousands of customers that they might not have gotten otherwise. Now, paint that picture with COVID on top. Now, we are climbing out of COVID. I'm delighted to announce that we're on our way. Memorial Day weekend was an eye-opener for everyone. We had the largest sporting event in the world happen over Memorial Day weekend, and there were 125,000 people there. And what was that event? You're all muted, so I'll answer. It was the Indy 500. There were 125,000 people there without masks. And think about the golf tournaments over the last couple weekends. Phil Mickelson winning the PGA, and then the Memorial in Fort Worth a week later, thousands of people back on the golf course watching golf. Sporting events have become alive again. So let's celebrate the fact that people are going to start shopping in your stores again. So without further ado, this session will address the essential elements of towns working together and promoting themselves with signature events. Local events are the mainstays of small towns throughout the country. Merchants need to take full advantage of the bountiful influx of potential customers and continue to adjust to the ever-changing demands of the new customer based on what they've been through and what we've been through for the last 18 months. So here's what we're going to do. Here are the sessions. Today is a grand reopening celebration, a guide to success. We're going to do this again on June 16th because evidently we didn't give you all a fair chance to promote this event to all your colleagues and friends. So 6/16 will be the second one. And then on 6/30, we are very excited to present tools for a retail pandemic recovery. And that's where I'll get into all the trends that have developed based on COVID, those trends that will remain based going forward, and some of the things that have changed and how to be relevant to the changed customer and how to do business in 2021 and going forward. So very excited to share with you on June 30th. So let's just go ahead and climb in. Again, Mark Wilson. I can get dressed up when I need to. I was in the clothing business for 12 years, so I can get dressed up when I need to. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the past 18 months. There's been a lot of change for retail. Some stores pivoted and did extremely well. You know, I tell you, half the stores that I speak with, and most of it's been virtual for the last 18 months, but I'm very, very excited about getting back on the road and doing some of these seminars live again, and certainly doing one-on-one visits to businesses throughout the Commonwealth to help them put their best foot forward going forward. You'll see on the last slide today that we're inviting you to sign up for a one-on-one consultation with me through our help link, and we'll talk about that at the end. So, goodness, what has happened in the last 18 months, and what are things that I believe, are going to remain important over the next year or two? Well, e-commerce websites. There's no question that the biggest change in mom and pop and independently owned retail businesses is that you've had to go online. The customer has discovered online. Baby boomers are a hot demographic right now because they discovered shopping online over the holidays and loved it. And guess what? They have the most money. So what a great demographic to chase down now. So you've been trying to get the millennials and Gen X and Gen Z in your store. Well, don't forget the baby boomers because they've discovered e-commerce. So that's something that's here for good. You have to give the customer the option of shopping online if they want to, and several options in terms of receiving their product. Think about this for a minute. You have 5 different ways a customer can get their product today: curbside pickup, local delivery, shipping, and guess what? They can come back in your store now and feel good about getting back. Listen, there's a pent-up demand for shopping. There's a pent-up demand to be around other people. You know, some of the analysts and forecasters have said we're moving into a period of hedonism and like the roaring 20s. People are glad to be out and about again. And you need to put your best foot forward. You need to have a great event. You need to get them back in your store. You need to have fun again. You need to fall in love with your business again. And you need to talk about your secret sauce. You know what your secret sauce is? It's what you do in your store that makes you different and better than everybody else. And it usually emanates from the owner and the culture and the people they've hired to be their ambassadors of what they believe in and what their store believes in. And it's way more than a transactional experience. It's relationship building. You know that independently owned businesses are about relationships. Okay, a few more trends. Omni-channel. You know you have to be able to go to every channel. Let me finish my last thought though. Shipping is a way customers can get their product, and certainly e-commerce. So you got a bunch of different ways the customer wants to shop with you, and you got to be able to offer all those different ways. And that's what omni-channel stands for. Live chats and videos. Zoom has found its way into your store. So is Facebook Live. So when planning events and doing events, make sure you're broadcasting them. The easiest way to make an online experience personal is to broadcast it. Bring the customer into your store via Zoom or Facebook Live. And a lot of the e-commerce platforms offer live chat. Tidio is a plug-in for live chat. What better than to make something personal than allow the customer to actually speak with you during the sale? Social commerce is a big trend. Selling directly off of Instagram and Facebook is social commerce, and know how to do that. And it's become important. And seamless, secure, and hygienic. So although we believe COVID is in retreat, and that's one of there's 2 reasons we're celebrating and having grand reopenings. The COVID virus is in retreat. We have won a battle. It's like winning a war. So we're going to celebrate that. And the other thing we're going to celebrate is shopping local and supporting your colleagues, friends, neighbors, and relatives that have stores in your community, and supporting your community. And with that thought, I will add this: coopetition, the merger of competition and cooperation, is incredibly important right now. The towns that have the best events are filled with store owners that are cooperators. And what the heck is that? It's people that cooperate in a productive way, and they're competitive in a productive way. So JFK said that the tide raises all the boats, and no truer words are spoken. We know that towns that work together and cooperate do better than towns that don't. Towns that have disparate retailers off on their own, doing their own thing, not communicating with each other and not doing things together, are not as successful as towns that work together, know each other's strengths and weaknesses, know the restaurant's menus, know the event calendar, are involved in their community. And it's incredibly important. So let's head on. So planning. So today we're going to talk about before the events, during the events, and after the events. And planning certainly is before the event. So there's two ways of proceeding. You're either going to run an event of your own in your store, or you're going to convince your colleagues and co-owners of stores that it's time for the entire town to have an event. And you know that President Biden kind of put his sights on the July 4th weekend. And the reason I'm thinking July 4th is that it gives you time to promote the event, because it takes 2 to 3 weeks to create the buzz, not only for your own event, but for the event for the town on social media, co-op advertising, newspapers, radio, however you promote your events. It takes some time, some lead time. So hosting an event requires a lot of planning and organization that it goes off without a hitch, because you want to come across as a community that's united and can work together and can put on a Class A event. So the chances are it's been a while since you planned an in-person event. So your old checklist is probably out of date, and you probably have to consider some extra details based on ensuring the event follows some of the things put in place during COVID: social distancing, masking if they want to, and other COVID safety measures. So this checklist can be a guide as you decide how to organize a grand opening event that captivates your audience, works in the new normal, and keeps everything organized on the way. And by the way, we have placed in the chat room a link to a worksheet for planning your event. So make sure you grab that. It takes you through the process of organizing an event in your store, and it's a very, very helpful document. So know that link is in the chat room and should be available to you whenever you want to grab it. So let's see here. Be involved in the vision, planning, and execution of the event. If your grand opening is a part of a larger celebration, try to be involved in the vision, the planning, and the execution of the event. It's important that the town and merchants are working together and that'll have a greater impact on the community as a whole. So I'm a huge believer that a merchant, a store owner, or a couple store owners, or a restaurant owner, or someone that has a business in town ought to be on that committee and be part of planning the event. So often events take on a life of their own, and the organizers seem to forget that the real reason for the event is to help local businesses do more business. It's not necessarily just to get a couple tens of thousands of people in your town. It is exposure, and exposure is important, but exposure is not a nuisance. And we'll talk about it on the next slide, because I've actually been to towns where certain stores don't even open the day of the event because they believe the event doesn't bring their customer to town. You know what I say to that? Baloney. I say, come on. I bring thousands of customers to your town, and you're not going to open because you don't think they're your customer? Everybody is your customer. Everybody. And if you're what I want you to be, which is unique, you need to let the customer know what they're missing if they don't come to your store when they're in your town. And you may not have the best day you have of the year during the event because it's just too crazy and too crowded. But best case scenario, they come back the following weekend with all their friends and neighbors to shop on a more normal day. So exposure is a big deal. So it's a great idea to have a store owner or a business owner on the committee to help shape the event. You need to raise your hand when they say, we're going to close this street that day, and we're going to put all the food trucks on this street. You need someone to raise their hand and go, that street, that's where all our local restaurants are. Don't put the food trucks there. Put them at the other end of town. Spread people out. So sometimes you need the voice of reason. Sometimes you need someone to say, have you thought about this? Were you here a year ago when we had this event? So help, suggest the ways that the event could help the local merchants. One of the best ways to help local merchants is to have a map of the town on the day of the event and highlight the local stores with a red star or something, or put the names of the local stores and restaurants in red on the map to point out the businesses that are there that they should find during the event. You should also create a website for the event. Maybe it's just a one-page landing page, but it should be all about the event. And it should link every website of every store to that website so that people can find your local stores. Because you know this and I know this. Everybody Googles everything. So you want your stores to get found, you want your event to get found, and you want to be on the first page of results on Google. You know that. We all know that. So again, I believe in a flyer or a map for the event that highlights the local merchants and restaurants. Exposure is not a nuisance. An event is created to introduce new and return visitors to town. Listen to me. Thousands of people have found you over the last year and a half on the internet that never knew you even existed a year ago. So those people are out looking for new places to shop, and they may have found you on the internet. And now, based on where we're heading with the COVID and reopening the entire country, they may come to find your store based on finding you on the internet. So you're going to have new people in town. It's also a reason for locals to come out. Guess why? The locals expect you to be doing something special in your store the day of the event. I'm here to tell you that you need to look like you're part of the event if the town has planned the event. Your windows need to be set in sync with the event. So if it's a July 4th event, I want July 4th stuff in your window. Firecrackers, flags, whatever. I mean, make sure you look like you've been part of the event since the day they started planning it. And the other thing is that an event, a town-wide event, can be marketed far more than you could market your own store, because the town typically will market the event for you with co-op advertising and maybe radio spots and all over the internet. Marketing way beyond what you could market on your own. And every visitor should be considered a potential customer. Shame on you if I bring you customers into your store and you tell me they're not your customer, that you can't sell them anything. And by the way, I'd like to say this. I think that the selling process should be filled with empathy and kindness right now. We're shaking off a COVID hangover. People are grieving. People have been lonely. People have been holed up in their houses. People are working from home. People want to get out and be around other people. So know that. and be prepared for them and have a special event in your store. So the benefits to you are simple. You're going to have new customers, a reason to promote or have a sale. You're going to have an opportunity for the town and the community to come across as a unified group that knows how to throw a party. And you have free advertising to glom onto. So what could be bad with an event? There's nothing bad about an event. So let's talk about the plan. Let's talk about the plan for the event. You know, there's some logistics you have to think about to throw a good event. So a good idea to have for your event is an information booth or an entryway. So know this, there are two types of events throughout the country that have been thrown throughout, a number of years. There's open events and closed events. An open event is you can get into the event any way you want, anywhere in town. You can come in on any street and park anywhere you want. And it's an open event. The whole town's wide open and you come and go as you please. Now, the difficulty with an open event is that you can't charge to get in because there's no entryway. And you really have a hard time of really finding out how successful the event was because it's hard to count the attendees. The only way to count the attendees on an open event is to have a drone fly over, take a picture of the number of people in a certain square footage, and then multiply that times the number of square feet in the town and try to estimate the number of people that are there. The second way to throw an event is a closed event, where you cordon off the downtown with road blocks and cordon off so that there's an entryway. And then you know exactly how many people have come in, and you can charge for the event if you want to. Leesburg, Virginia, that's where I hail from. And we have a annual event, the garden and home and garden show that we do every year. And it brings about 30,000 people to Leesburg over a 2-day period. And it's a closed event, and you come in through an entryway. I think it's $7, kids are free, but we make a lot of money on that event. The other way to make money on an event is like Occoquan does in their Arts and Crafts Festival. It's an open event, but you have to park at the local high school and get bussed into the event. They charge to ride the bus. So that's how they make their money. So know there's a couple ways to run events. Know that some towns close their main street and put up booths. A lot of towns use booths as a way to throw an event. Have directional signings and a map so you know how people can navigate around. Directional signage, things like sandwich boards out front of some stores to show, special things going on inside the store. So you have to determine in advance whether you're going to have an open or closed event, and know if you have a budget for the event. So you know the co-op advertising plan, and will there be a need for additional help to direct traffic and volunteers to just keep people moving through town and people to answer questions and those kinds of things. So know that, and all your bullet points are right there on the slide. So planning the event is certainly important. Promote the event on your website and social media. So this is where the individual independent owners get involved. You need to create a buzz for a couple weeks about the event on your site. And what are you going to do special during the event in your store? You should invite all your good customers off your mailing list. A personal email to your customers from you goes a long, long way. And by the way, that's the only data you really own is your email list. Because if you have you don't own the data you have on Facebook, you don't own the data you have on Instagram, and the host really owns the data you have on your website. So the only real data you own of your own is your email list. So use it, and certainly reach out to your loyal customers. You know the 80-20 rule, 20% of your customers produce 80% of your revenue. So that 20% should get a personal invite to your event. Have a contest or a raffle. Double your loyalty points the day of the event. Offer refreshments and entertainment. Have special deals during the event. Promote. Have local celebrities or vendor reps in your store that you wouldn't normally have. Have small giveaways, things that we call them chopskis or swag. Have little things you can give your customers that have your email address, have your URL to your website on it, have your phone number, keychains, pencils, pens, little inexpensive things that you can give away. And then it's a great idea to promote a cause during your event and say that a portion of your proceeds goes to this cause. There's 4 things that customers are concerned with right now. I call it the 4 C's, and I think this is a good time to bring it up, and then we'll get into the day of activities. But the customer has 4 concerns right now. Convenience. Well, I call them the 4 C's. Convenience. So they've learned that they want to get their product the most convenient way they feel like it. So that's where omni-channel comes in. Caution. There's still caution. They don't want to be exposed to the virus or be in harm's way. So they're still cautious, and we're going to be cautious for a while. In fact, my personal advice is that you continue to wear masks for a while in your store until we really get the full green light. And give the customer the option of wearing their mask or not, but still provide a safe environment for you, your employees, and your customers. The 3rd C is cause. People want to know that you're bigger than just a transactional business, that you stand for things bigger than that you believe in certain concepts, that you're sustainable, that you use vendors that are fair to their employees and use safe ways to create their product and get it to you, and treat their employees in a fair manner. So cause is important. And lastly, they're about community. They want to see the community working together and doing things together. So let's move to the day of the event. I've already told you that your store window or your booth, if you have a booth, should be in concert with the event, obviously. You should promote special things going on in your store. Again, the definition of unique is one of a kind. And one of my colleagues uses this phraseology, destination statement. And a destination statement is a statement that starts with I'm the only, I'm the first, I'm the longest running, I'm the only one in the country, I'm the only one in this county, I'm the only one in this town, that. And I want you to finish that sentence with something that you do that no one else does, or that no one else does as well as you do. And you got to let the customer what they're going to miss out on if they don't come to your store the day of the event. So I've already talked about refreshments and free gifts and contests and raffles and bonus points and live streaming the event, being on Zoom and being on Facebook Live as people are having a blast in your store, doing contests and having raffles and, you might do a passport event in the entire town. A passport event, you create a passport that has to be stamped by every store in town that's participating. And once a customer gets their passport stamped, they get to qualify for a raffle that the town is giving off town bucks. So towns will give away like $500 worth of town bucks, or $500 in a 2-day stay in a local hotel for a shopping spree. And to get in that raffle, you have to fill out your passport. And what some towns will tell me is, or some owners will say, well, they'll just come to get their passport stamped. And you know what I say to them? Shame on you. They're in your store and you're not going to have a conversation with them. And I didn't finish my thought about kindness and empathy. I think you ought to sell conversationally now. I don't think you should hard sell anybody. I think you should be kind and empathetic and have a conversation with your employees. Believe me, they want to talk to somebody because they've been holed up in their house or away from their relatives and colleagues and friends for a year. So take that to your advantage. Window displays, they need to be in sync with the event. They need to have a focal point. You should let the people know what you've done to make your store safe. There's nothing wrong with a little poster that says, these are the things we've done to make our store safe. You might want to plan or sketch out the window before you build it. And if you think that most people see your window from the street or from a car, sometimes painting your window is more effective than building a window because they can see that from the street. You've got to know how people see your window. Do they see it from a sidewalk or do they see it from a passing car? And that determines whether your window is intricate and detailed or big and bold, because of how many feet there are between your window and how they're seeing it. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And the other thing I want to remind you is the safety protocols during COVID. You want to continue to think about social distancing and safety signage and stickers on the floor, keeping people 6 feet apart, map out your store and booth, and make sure your store is clean and safe to shop in, a hand sanitizer and all those things we've done for months. We should slowly bring to an end, but I think it's too soon to end it abruptly. So practice safety in the meantime. That's the one big difference between events you've thrown in the past and events that are happening now. So research your local government's current capacity restrictions, determine how many tickets to sell. Many reasons will continue for vendors to operate at a reduced capacity and allow social distancing. So know your CDC guidance and consider that as your go-to resource for how to conduct your business during COVID. Now, there'll be plenty of different types of customers that come to an event. You might be looking at this slide and saying, oh my goodness, I don't want a bunch of those people in my store with strollers. They'll just mess my store up. They're just here to eat. Well, some customers do just come to eat. Some customers come because might be an open free event. So they come for entertainment. But most people are responding to the event's promotions and most likely are there to buy something. So there'll be locals checking out the madness. There'll be locals looking for deals due to the event. There'll be other shop owners and town officials looking to support you and all the businesses in town. So there's all sorts of opportunity during an event. And new customers will have found you due to the greater use of the internet during the pandemic and may visit your store for the first time. So they may need a little extra hand holding. They may need, They may need some special help that you might not have considered in the past because of the newness of them finding you. So again, let me just drive this home. You need, during the day of the event, to promote your event in the store. You may want coupons that you can hand out for special things you're doing in your store. You know, live music helps events. We know it. We know that it works. Live music's a good thing to have during the event. And it's usually at one end of town where there's room to have the live music. It may be in a park. It may be at the courthouse. It may be at the other end of town from you. And I've had owners come to me crying in their spilt milk. Oh, all the activities up at the other end, they don't come down to our end to shop. You know what I say? Shame on you. Don't cry over spilt milk. Listen, if all the crowd is up at the end of town, then you have a part-timer that you can send up to that crowd with coupons about what you're doing in your store that's special, promotions, discounts, and invite them to the store after the music's over. Say, we're open late today because of the event. Come up and shop with us when you're finished watching the music. Don't let it just go. Do something proactive. Use sandwich boards outside your store to tell the customer about things. Hey, if it's hot as bejesus during the event, tell them your store is air conditioned. Say that you have free cold water inside, free refreshments inside. And if you're doing an event with booths, let me tell you this, you shouldn't have a back on your booth. First of all, towns that are enlightened give the space for the booth in front of each store to the store at no cost. Every store should have the space in front of their store for their booth. Put the outside vendors and the food trucks and all those things away from your, up the street from your local stores. And let the booth out front of a store be for the store. Don't put a back on it because it's a tunnel to your front door. You don't want to do business out in your booth. The booth is a lure to get people through your front door. You're far more prepared to wait and service a customer in your store than you are out in a booth. The booth is to get their attention, but you want to get them in your store. So if there's co-op advertising for the event, get involved. Use Facebook and Instagram pages to communicate to your customers. This is a time to partay. So the objectives in your booth are the same as in your store, though. You don't want to. You want to keep your customers, employees safe. As restrictions around the country are lifted, it's going to become more common and employees to forget safety protocols and guidelines. As always, enforce state and federal safety guidelines, but know that it's okay if you and your businesses your business is not ready to return to business as usual. Business as usual meaning maskless, distance, and full capacity. Just be clear with your customers what you're doing in your store. And the clearest way to communicate with customers is to put a video on the homepage of your website. I'm telling you, it used to be 9 out of 10. I think it's 10 out of 10 people go to your website before they come in your store. They may be standing on the sidewalk on their phone. Remember, the mobile phone has changed the complexion of retail forever. And it's important that you know that. So they may be on your website standing out in front of your store. So if you have a booth, make it stand out. Make it a tunnel to your front door. Make sure that it's a bright color. Maybe everybody else's booth is white. So maybe you want a red booth or a green booth or something that points out, makes you different. Have giveaways and takeaways. Have someone dress up in a contest. Look, if you need someone to dress as a hot dog and stand out in front of your booth, do it. And if you have something that you can demonstrate or display, do it. People love to see you do what you do. And make it fun. And don't have everything at the same level on a card table or a conference table. Make sure you use the same merchandising techniques that you use in your store. Use risers and backdrops and tiers and stands and tablecloths and grids and different ways to, you have to curate your merchandise so that it's merchandised, not just put in stacks on tables. You have to do the same thing out there that you do in your store. But again, the end result is don't bring your cash register outside. Leave it in the store. Make them go in your store to pay, because that's what your goal is. Your goal is to get these customers into your store, not in your booth and out again. Be welcome, invest in conversations, treat your customers fairly and equally, and express thankfulness. Make eye contact. Use a good opening line that can't be answered by yes or no. What's an open-ended question? A question that can't be answered by yes or no. They all start with who, what, where, when, how, or why. So use those kinds of questions and get them in your store. Invite them to go in your store. Stay focused on the event. Don't get in conversations with your coworkers. Don't be on your phone. Don't overly interact with booth mates. Stay off your phone. Pay attention. And it's arduous work, guys. Being in a booth all day and being nice and kind and speaking to every customer is hard work. But make it fun. Make it enjoyable. Make it something that you enjoy. Fall in love with being in business again. Listen, I'm a big believer in vibrations and energy and special sauce and personality. And it's time for those things to just explode. It's time for you to be just bouncing off the walls and spreading joy and spreading kindness and doing business like you used to. You with me? And a strategy should be, slow them down a little bit. You don't want a racetrack. If you put your booths up one side and down the other of your street, you created a racetrack that they're going to go around in 15 minutes and leave. No, you want them to stop at each booth, see what each store has to offer. Have an information booth. Have the menus to your restaurants at the information booth. Keep the cash wrap and register in your store. Have a sidewalk sign that says, much more inside, free refreshments inside, air conditioned inside. Have the URL to your website posted somewhere outside. Okay, make it a party. All right. So now we've planned before the event. We've had the event. What are we going to do now? Well, we're going to assess the effectiveness of the event. What worked? What didn't work? You might do a survey to your best clients. Just a little survey monkey to your best clients of what they enjoyed about your event. Get feedback on the event that happened in your own store. Get feedback on the event for the whole town. And get the group together as quickly as possible after the event and do a postmortem. Talk about the parking, talk about the traffic flow, talk about the attendance, talk about the promotions, talk about the marketing, Talk about what went well, what didn't go well, what to do differently. Just make sure that you take a critical look at whether the event was as successful as it possibly could be. Because guess what? There should be more events in your store throughout the year and more events in town throughout the year. Most small towns have signature events that occur 3 or 4 times a year. So we're just gearing up to get those all back and running again. So I am so excited about what's happening and how successful Memorial Day weekend was. I mean, if you've watched any TV, you've seen crowds at sporting events again, and you've seen crowds in towns again. And it's wonderful. We're moving in the right, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There is reason for widespread optimism. And your customers should feel that, and your employees should feel that, and your town officials should feel that, and your chamber should feel that, and your economic development should feel that. So most events happen annually, so provide the feedback right after the event to help organizers plan for the next year and the next event. You with me? Okay. So what are your ideas? What are your ideas for a grand opening or an event for your town? So there is some time left for questions and comments. And, I'd like to hear from some folks that have done things that have worked for them and share them. Be a cooperator. Be coopetition, all boats rise with the tide. Come on, do it together. Before I forget, don't forget, there's another one of these just like this. Tell your friends and neighbors and colleagues about it on the 16th. And don't forget about tools for a retail pandemic recovery on the 30th.
Mark, always bringing the energy. I love it.
You gotta have energy.
I love it. We've got one question for you.
Yeah.
Now that the customer is comfortable ordering online, especially from businesses like our farm markets, do you think this habit will continue? And if so, for how long?
Listen, shopping online is going nowhere. People love it. People like doing it. But I'm here to tell you, they want to come back to the farm market. There's no comparison between shopping online at a farm market and going to one. No comparison. And let me tell you this, there is no technology known to mankind that'll ever replace face-to-face interaction. Know that, believe it, and let's get on with it. Because people are pent up and ready to go. Let's start that period of hedonism. Let's go. Let's get these towns jumping.
Yeah, I agree with that. Part of the farmers market allure is for me to walk around and look at things. So,
oh my gosh. I mean, farm market's the perfect example of an event, a business having no comparison between online and live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and, I briefly spoke about secret sauce. People ask me all the time, you go to towns all over the country and you always say you can find somebody who's doing just fine. And when I ask you, why are they doing just fine? You say, because they have secret sauce. What the heck does that mean? It means that they do something in their store that makes their customers feel like family. They make it feel like they've known them forever and that this store is on the planet for them. And that's what secret sauce is. It's what the energy, the vibe, the karma, the everything that you create in your store that makes it, what the other word I haven't used yet that you need to think about? Retailtainment. It's about the experience. let's get experiential again.
We could squeeze one more question. To get your city or county involved, where should a business start? Who should an owner reach out to?
Well, typically a town has a chamber. They typically also have a town council. They also typically, if they're a Main Street, they definitely have a Main Street organizer. And they have, in many cases, towns have merchants associations. You know, groups of merchants that get together monthly and talk about what's going on in town. All those places are great places to start. And it really does take, even Small Business Saturday that American Express has gotten behind for 10 years now, Small Business Saturday. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Well, they highly recommend someone be the chief of the Small Business Saturday. And you know what getting a good event done in a town takes? It takes someone that's willing to drive the process. And the unfortunate thing is every town typically only has a handful of those people, probably less than a handful of those people that are willing to put in that kind of effort. But it's important that we find that person and convince them that they're the right thing to get this pulled off. And I can tell you I can name the people in towns I go to of the people that will make it happen. And you probably know those people already in your town. So you probably do know the answer to that question, if you think about it.
Now we do have, it's 9:31. Are you okay answering a couple more questions? Or do you?
Yeah.
All right. I know Mark is super passionate, guys. So I always want to present the option.
It's my purpose and my whole purpose in life is to make small towns succeed. And it's the purpose of the SBDC. Don't forget that. You have a lot of help out there that's at no cost that a lot of you don't know anything about. Listen, I've always said this. Reach out to the experts. If you don't have a skill set, hire it. And in this case, you don't even have to hire it. You just need to ask for the help. So reach out to your local SBDC. They're wonderful.
What is a typical budget to participate in an event?
Well, there is no typical budget. It depends how big the event is. I mean, we have small events and we have big events. I will tell you that categorically, marketing, if you want to say, well, what is a good marketing budget? I'd say 2% of sales. So, you know, if a town wants to look at their overall annual sales from their local merchants and restaurants, then 2% is a number that is traditionally used for marketing budgets. And I'd say that events fall under marketing. So, gosh, in your town, 2%, that's a lot of money. But it doesn't take as much money as, it doesn't take as much money as it used to because of the internet. So much of your marketing can be done on the internet for free. Don't forget that.
That's true. Do you think a restaurant has to do something different? If so, what?
Well, I hope the restaurants have been doing something different for a year and a half. So do what you do well, but you just need to let people know that you're there, what your menu is, what they're missing if they don't eat with you. And then you have to give your food to the customer they want, the way they want it. So dine-in is reopening. I mean, a lot of restaurants are reopening for dine-in. So if dine-in is what customers want to do, let them. If curbside is what customers want, tell them that you're going to do curbside. If delivery is what they want, deliver to them. You with me? Listen, here I told you the 4 C's. Here are the 4 A's. Here are the 4 customers' 4 A's. Anywhere, anyhow, anytime, and any place. The customer wants the way they want it. And being omni-channel is your ability to deliver to the customer in any manner in which they want. And I tell a restaurant the same thing.
I think flexibility has become such a important aspect throughout the whole process, but also still going to remain in something that you have to be flexible. So
I agree with you
exactly.
100%. Flexibility is key, but don't forget the founding building blocks of good retail and restaurateuring.
Right.
Those building blocks have not gone away.
Right.
So you just need to layer a little the nuances of a post-pandemic customer into your scenario, because they've lived through something for a year and a half none of us lived through before, unless you're over 100 and lived through the Spanish pandemic in 1918. It's new ground, ladies and gentlemen, new ground.
That's right. I did put in the chat, if you guys want to meet with Mark, he is open to meet with you guys, of course, and he brings that energy to his one-on-one session. So you can email us help@virginiasbdc.org and we will hook you up. We help, and also we do have other counselors that do a range of different things that can help with the SBDC. So please reach out. Everyone will receive an email with a link to the recording and the evaluation and the slides. Like we said, we are doing this webinar again on the 16th. And we are also have the second part, which is showing there the tools for retail pandemic recovery on the 30th. So be sure you sign up for those at virginiasbdc.org/training. You can also access on our website the COVID Business Recovery Center, which we developed to help owners not only continue business operations, but to thrive and recover. These resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. So again, please reach out to us. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Mark. We always love having all this energy. And first thing in the morning, it's great. It's better than coffee. We love it.
Goodness, it's just great to be alive and going down this tunnel or this path that's reopening the country, and I love it. And we even got the baby excited today.
The baby's excited. Well, thank you so much, Mark. We will see you again at the next 2 sessions. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.